My name is Jay, and welcome to Ask a Debt Collector. I've been in the debt collection business for over 15 years. I've worked in all aspects of debt collections. From where I started as a legal verifier, where basically all I would do was verify place of employment, as well as if someone owned any assets like a home. And if I found that information, I would send it straight to the collector and they would basically sue on the accounts. From there, I went to a skip tracer. Basically, there, all I did was skip trace information and found numbers and so forth to get in contact with consumers to obviously get them to pay their debt. From there, I worked as a debt collector where I actually did the collecting, where I did the calling and so forth. I worked in management where I had a team of over 20 people under me where I coached them on collecting, debt collecting and all of the nuances concerning that, as well as I've been an owner of a debt collection agency. Now, over the course of my life, for friends and family, I've been the go-to guy to answer questions with regards to debt and credit. I've cleaned credit for so many of my friends and family and answered so many questions concerning that stuff, and now I want to do it for you. So, if you have any questions about debt, like when's the best time to call a debt collection agency and negotiate a debt, all the way down to verifying a debt collection agency, figuring out if they're a real collection agency or not, I am here to help you with that. Like, subscribe, share with your friends and family. If you have any questions directly yourself, put them down in the comments, and I promise you I will answer those questions for you. Let's go. Today, I want to show you how to negotiate your debt. If you haven't seen the other video on when, check it out. It's my second video on my YouTube. It tells you when. So once you've seen that video, then I'll tell you now in this video, I'm gonna show you how to negotiate your debt. Number one, your most important thing is your attitude. I was reading a book, I'm not sure, by Jim Quick. I'm not reading a book, actually going through some memory thing with Jim Quick. If you don't know who he is, he's a guy who helps you master your memory. And in that, one of those lessons, I remember he said, your brain is like a supercomputer and your thoughts are the program that it runs on. So your attitude is so important before calling. The reason why I say this is simple. When you're calling in and you have a bad attitude, and you're just, upset because you owe the debt or whatever the circumstance is, maybe the collector's called, some relatives or have been calling you, you've gotten a bunch of messages, and, obviously you owe the debt, you're gonna have to pay the debt. If your attitude is bad when you call in, meaning you're calling in with attitude, you're acting like something's wrong or someone's, owes you something, then a lot of times, depending on what collector you get, if you got me, especially back in the day, I'm not gonna give you a settlement or anything when it comes to the account. I want balance in full. So your attitude when you call in matters. Now let me explain to you on the flip side. Debt collections is a very high turnover rate. Typically in a collection agency, you'll have about 3 collectors that are always hitting commission, always doing, hitting their numbers. And then the rest of the collectors are pretty much revolving. It's a pretty high, stressful job. So initially, a lot of times, debt collectors will have a bad attitude as it is. We're expecting that because probably, I would say about 80% of the people, whether they got a message and they're calling in or they're calling in to pay their debt, they have a very, very bad attitude. And typically, if you have a bad attitude with me, when I was a debt collector, I'm not gonna give you a settlement. I'm gonna make it as tough as possible. And anytime someone called in and had a good attitude, those are the people that I gave the most discount off of their debt in general, just because they had a better attitude. It made my job easier because I was stressed out as it was. And so when you call in with a better attitude, which we rarely get from consumers, then it makes the whole situation a lot better. So your attitude, check your attitude. Take some deep breaths before you call in. Think about what it is that you're gonna say, have a plan, and your attitude is really key. Now let's talk about money. Say for instance, you owe $3,000 on your Capital One card. You know Because first of all, you worked on your attitude, you took your deep breaths, and you're going to call in very respectful. It just goes a long way. Trust and believe me. If you have a bad attitude, chances are you're not going to get the best deal. Nevertheless, you have $1,500 to pay that debt. You need to give yourself some cushion, just like negotiating anything with regards to like a used car or anything that you're trying to purchase from somebody, whether it's a camera or something along those lines. You know that your threshold is $15, and the reality is you have to give yourself a cushion. I always typically say $500. Try and give yourself a cushion of around $500. So when I call, if I'm a consumer and I'm calling in to pay off a debt, I know that I have $1,500. I know I owe $3,000. You just have to think of it like this. Reality is you may fall around $1,700 that you have to pay. But if you tell the person you have $1,000, a lot of times what the debtor will do is place you on hold, say they're going to ask their boss. I used to do it all the time. I'm not asking the boss. I'm just sort of kind of running the numbers in my head and trying to figure out what dollar amount that I need to do to either make the most amount of commission or to satisfy the creditor so that, obviously we have that settlement arrangement for there. So you start off with $1,000. I may come back on the phone and say $1,300, and you save yourself $200. So you always want to give yourself a cushion. Very, very important. Now, in a case where the person's like, hey, we can't settle out, you owe a certain amount of money, we can't do that. Because, like I told you in the last video, you waited at the right time to call them and to pay, chances are you will possibly fall around that $1,500 settlement amount. Again, if they say that they can't do $1,000, then you always ask them, well, what's the closest, what can you do in that range amount? I'm at a limited time of money. I always tell people to say, your money's sort of kind of short. You're calling to sort of kind of, you want to, take care of this debt, but obviously, you only have limited funds with regards to paying it. Typically, because you have a good attitude, I keep stressing that, you have a good attitude, the collector themselves naturally, because we want to make some type of commission and get a payment, you never know what's going on with that, with the debt collector. They may have not had a payment for 2 or 3 days and they want to get something rolling. And so because you had a good attitude with regards to your debt, chances are we'll be able to work something out and you'll fall around that $1,500 range. So the reality is, let's recap. Your attitude, you got to have a better attitude. You got to come in there with an attitude. I don't even care if the debt collector's being rude. Don't feed off of that energy. You may want to say something along the lines like, hey, I know it's a stressful job. I know things are tough. Let them know your situation with regards to your money. Obviously, you don't want to give the full amount that it is that you have to pay the debt. If you had $2,000, I always say, hey, say you got $1,300 and work within. That gives you $700 to work within. And so as they're coming up with the payments, you already knew you had $1,700 and you'll save your money. Chances are you may even be able to save a little more and keep $200 for the next debt that you may have or to pay whatever bills that you have. So attitude. And then when you're negotiating your price, have a dollar amount that you know that you can possibly pay in a lump sum payment and have that ready to pay at that time span. Money talks, everything else walks. So if you call that debt collection agency and you're like, hey, I got $1,500 today, I can pay today, they'll be a lot more motivated to get it done. But you start out with obviously $1,000 in the scenario that I stated and then work your way up. But you tell them that you have the money and you can pay it today. All you need is something in writing stating what you guys agreed upon, and boom, you save some money on your debt. I know that these times are trying. I know that a lot of people don't have money, and financial situations is coming, jobs are being lost, and a lot of things have happened. So with some of these techniques, I hope that it can help you with regards to settlements and how you can obviously save some money on debt that you actually owed on and ultimately make your job and your situation a lot less stressful. Remember, subscribe if you like the information. I'll be putting out videos each month with regards to debt in general and how to, negotiate and what to do with regards to debt. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll make sure that I answer those questions for you. And hopefully you're having a great day. Be great.